Okay, everybody. It's a pleasure to present here. It's a very hard position to present after Jeff, but I'll try my best. Today, I'm going to talk about how a driverless car sees the world. I'm from Google. Currently, it's called Waymo. I guess because we spend way more money than expected. But so first, why self-driving cars? We have been working on our project since 2009. But the dream of self-driving car actually comes back way much further. In 1939, General Motors actually sponsored us exhibition in New York World Fair showcase a futuristic world with automatic highways. And this is an ad from 1950s, illustrate a future where you could play board games with your family when you are getting around on an automatic car. And in 2007, the DARPA Grand Challenge, where teams gathered together and compete with each other on the self-driving vehicles. And this is pursuing the technology drastically forward. And in 2009, Google started this self-driving car project, including the team members who have already dedicated years to this technology. But why self-driving cars? So first, let's take a closer look to what a normal human driving is like. So in 1885, when the first automobile was invented, Benz unveiled it in the public and promptly crashed it into a wall. Since the first crash, we have been working around many mistakes about human drivers. Like we have made the car stronger, we have added seat belts to the cars, and recently we have added sensors and adding smarter active safety features. But for the whole 130 years, we have been working around the problem. We have left the most unreliable part of the car. Actually, it's the driver in the loop. We have been doing what we have known in software, that's patching around it. So if you look at the numbers, the car accident is actually the leading cause of death for the age 15 to 24 worldwide and 5 to 34 in US. I think technology can really help here. The traffic crashes are also the primary deaths of the worldwide. And also, if you look at numbers, it's actually 1.2 million people died annually on our roadways. And in US alone, there are 33,000 of people a year, which is equivalent of Boeing 737 falling out of the sky every working day of the entire year. So given that 94% of traffic accidents involve human error, this is the one place I think we really believe that we can bring technology to bear. If you look at the cars are usually sold like this. But in reality, we get this type of situation. Drivers want to do anything but drive. And lastly, there's a traffic, and there's almost 100 minutes per day for every person in the US that's stuck in the traffic. People spend average from 3 minutes to 15 minutes just looking for the parking lot. And on average, 30% of the traffic in the downtown area is looking for parking. So what if you can use this time to do more things and to chat with your kids, catch up some emails, and just relax? And many people say they love driving, and we believe it's true, but likely on an open road with barely any vehicles around it. Not in a situation like this, which people living in Bay Area must experience it every day. So on our team, driving is a real distraction, we think, and we really want to do. And if you look at some real examples, people are willing to do anything like jumping on the car. So this is roughly the flow of the whole self-driving car project. The project started in 2008. And in 2012, we began some testing with our Lexus vehicle. At this point, we focused on the highway mainly. And next, we shifted focus to the city streets and with much more complex environment. And then we have announced our prototype cars in 2014. And then in a few months of testing, and after a few years development, we have launched the first drive. And then now we become a separate company as Waymo. So let me step back and show you what we started and how we started working on full self-driving cars. It all starts from DARPA challenges, and it led to the birth of the project in 2009. But at that time in 2009, when the team was still very small, we really wanted to prove the concept of this technology. We were given two goals. One was to drive 100,000 miles on the public road. The second one was to drive through a bunch of interesting routes, and I've shown some of the routes here around the Bay Area. And this is where we are going to show. This is one of the examples of the situation that was going to be demoed at that time. This is Lombard Street in San Francisco. It's known for the downhill slope and the many twisted turns along the way. As you can see, we can actually successfully navigate the street during the early days of the project. And it turns out that we were not only able to do just Lombard Street, but we were able to fully meet both of our goals, the 100,000 miles of public driving and the selection of interesting and complex roads such as Lombard Street. So we kept going on our projects. After a few experiments, we ran a trial and we let Googlers to take our cars during their freeway part of their commute. We trained them and told them that the car worked well, but they have to pay attention because it was still prototyping. As we went through the trial, we heard that it was amazing, life-changing, not threatening, and traffic doesn't really matter anymore. And we had a Porsche driver even tell us that he only likes driving when there's no traffic about 1% of the time. But when we dug into what people were doing on the car, we started to see something that really concerned us. There was a person that while the car was driving on US 101, he pulled out his phones and noticed that the battery is low and reached back to his notebook on the back seat and charged his phones while the car is automatically driving on the highway. And we saw that even with the best intention of the humans don't pay attention when they think they can rely on the machine. Humans trust the machine too fast and beyond our expectation. And that's one of the main reasons we are not working on driver assistance anymore. We just feel like until you can really shoulder the whole burden of 100% driving, it's not going to be the safe to ask the human not to pay attention. So here I'm going to list how do we approach such a huge task at a time. How do we perceive all the different and complex scenarios around us, from driving on the highway to a more L4 end-to-end driving. So at the first, we want to map everything, and we created a very simplistic object representation. And we try to avoid driving, understand things that are around us, and we want to avoid vision as much as possible in 2009, because it's just, at that time, it was not robust enough. It has changed a lot since 2009. Back in 2009, object detector and deep learning wasn't as popular as now today. And, but still, without vision data, you can do a lot of things. But in fact, there are many critical scenarios that need to involve the vision to be deployed. For example, like traffic lights. At first, you can think of how hard it could be. It's just 3 different colors. And in many cases, it is true. It's a very straightforward task. And you would think the vision could do really well in that sense. But for instance, the traffic light on the top, it's clearly red. But how about the railway traffic light on the left? And then also, it matters which lane we are and what are the lights that affect us. So in fact, the simplicity of the traffic light does not help. It sometimes makes the problem even harder because any colored blob can basically be a light. And additionally, traffic lights comes in different shape, different configurations. They can be horizontal, vertical, and flashing solid, and even off. So there are many of different problems involving fully self-driving cars. So in 2014, we started looking to design a vehicle from scratch. Modifying all the existing vehicles requires so much work, and it makes more sense to start it over. And there are tremendous benefits to start from scratch. So here, this is what we come up with. We have all the sensors, interior, electrical system, and backup system, and etc., all in-house designed. And it was designed to operate without steering wheel. So you can't just build a whole fully functional vehicle at once. You have to start bringing different system sections up into speed in parallel. And before we integrate the new hardwares with softwares, we have conducted inclusive testing, durability testing on the hardware. And in day-to-day driving, many people don't really realize how they beat their cars. There are curbs, speed bumps, braking, acceleration. That's why cars usually have a lifetime, and it can only take so much. So we spend a lot of time trying to understand all the things that the car has to go through over the course of its lifetime to ensure that our car can also handle that. But we don't want to wait a lifetime of a vehicle to make sure things hold up, so we need to find a way to speed it up. We have a private track with all the things, speed bumps, potholes, and we spend time driving our cars through them to gather information on what the car might experience over the time. Then we took all the information and put it together into a car that can fit, and essentially did all these things of the car over and over for days and weeks. In this way, we were able to run through the lifetime of the car in a matter of weeks. So here I'll show you a video of how we are testing our vehicle. Sorry, there's no sound. It's the sound.
That had kind of everything integrated and was kind of our first push through our manufacturing line. We've now been able to take that, do some reliability testing with it, and to make sure that everything really hangs together the way it's supposed to before we get them out onto the roads.
We've made the car hot, we've made the car cold, we've done durability testing, we drive it through a reliability bumped track.
Getting these cars out into the public and allowing people to react to them, allowing us to see them out there, I think that's a huge deal. And most importantly, it's the necessary step to getting them to drive themselves. When we think about safety, when we think about giving people mobility, and then when you start to think longer term about the impact on cities and the ability to reclaim space and to reduce congestion and free up parking, this is something where we can have a huge impact. It's exciting to see the arc of this project as it's moved to something that's starting to be realized, and then the next step where we get to start to see people using it, and really that'll be just fantastic.
So to actually, on the software side, to do a self-driving car, we actually need to do the following things. Do the software to understand where am I and what's around us, what's going to happen next, and what should I do. But before that, we need to build a map. So here you can see, previously we focused on freeway driving because it's a much simpler environment. There are good visibilities, low curvatures, and a clear path to a vehicle to follow. This is, for example, this is a curvature of Highway 280. But once we started to focus on the surface streets, the city streets, from point A to point B, we also need to map them. Each mile of city streets have an order of magnitude more complexity than a mile of freeway. For example, there are different types of traffic lights, location of curbs, and clear zones and fire stations, etc. After we built my map, here is, for example, a car. After building the map, we created a very detailed digital map of all the features of the road, including the things like landmarks and the traffic signs. So the software of the car becomes familiar with the environment and the characteristics in advance. And then we need to provide a route. It's basically just speed and steering angles to determine the speed and direction of the car. But we need to ask what's around us. The sensor in the car, for example, lasers, lidars, cameras, first pick up a lot of data from the 360 degrees of the environment around us. The software then processes all this information to classify the object into different categories, the sizes and the shapes. And we have different postures. We make gesture, we wear different clothes. The software need to understand all different variations of the pedestrians. And so in this image, the pink boxes are the vehicles, and the red boxes are cyclists, if you look close enough into the cyclists in the intersection. And then, again, it tracks all the objects simultaneously in the environment. I'll probably go faster. And then we want to decide what's the objects around us and what are they going to do next. For example, the object on the top, there's a construction in front of it, so it must to change the lanes and into a different lane. We perform this understanding to all the objects around us, and then after that we can answer what should I do. For example, here there's a fencing on the leading vehicle, and there's another different fencing on the crosswalk sign. I'll probably go faster and skip this. So here's a demo of the live object recognition of the vehicle. We can recognize all the pedestrians, cars, and the cyclists around us in a very busy intersection. And here's another very tricky cases when we detect construction zones and can navigate through around it. And you can also notice that there's a cyclist with nicely nudge around it. And we detect police vehicles and do the lane change. And school buses and temporary stop signs as well. And also, for example, we can detect the gestures of cyclists and proceed accordingly. And also, we want to actually understand the gesture of, for example, there's a police, if a police is directing traffic. So due to the time limitation, I'll skip all these slides. But in the end, I want to show some videos as we graduate into Waymo.
We spend so much of our lives driving from place to place.
I'm just gonna stop.
Right here?
Yes! Save us a seat.
Shouldn't it be easier and safer to get where we want to go? Since 2009, our team at Google has been developing fully self-driving technology and testing it on real city streets every single day. Until, after more than 1 million miles, we were ready to take a big step forward. In 2015, we completed the world's first truly driverless ride on public roads. Just a person in a car, no steering wheel, no pedals, navigating everyday traffic.
Well, I've never been in Austin, Texas. Now I'm driving in Austin, Texas. It's a profound experience for me to be alone in a car. A very important segment of my life was cut away when my vision failed, and a self-driving car would give me a huge part of my life back.
This is just the beginning. We're looking ahead to a new way, a better way for everyone. Say hello to Waymo.
All right, that's it. Thanks. Okay.